All right, Nick and Andy, let's preview Arsenal against Brentford coming up at the Emirates this weekend. I'll be there for PST on site with live analysis, reaction, and much more. Of course, Arsenal can cut the gap to Liverpool leaders to 8 points at the top of the table. Not sure if it makes much difference in the grand scheme of things, Nick Mendola, but Arsenal will be flying high, right? They've got nothing to really lose at this point in the Premier League. Yes, they rotate, but this is just going to be quite interesting to see if they can crank a little bit of pressure on Liverpool late in the season.
Yeah, I think it'll tell us a little bit about the mentality of the team as a whole. I mean, the underlying mentality, the stuff that goes beyond emotions. Are you a machine? Are you capable of, and we know they're going to have an issue finishing, not an issue, but substandard finishing because they don't have forwards. The chances will come, but are we just going to see them play their game? And if that's the case, I feel a whole lot better about Arteta moving forward. I was thinking about it while watching the Champions League, actually, that PSG now kind of remind me of Arsenal a couple years ago, where it's a bunch of young guys. There are big names, but the big names are young, and they just they go about their business. And I think that's Arsenal now. But games like this will tell us if they're still just completely bought in.
Yeah, it's true, right, Andy? I think if you look at sort of the midweek, the incredible result, 3-0 win at home against Real Madrid, then you have the second leg against Madrid coming up after this game against Brentford. It's mentality, it's the squad strength. We know they have injuries in key areas at either end of the pitch. But, I mean, how many changes should we expect from Arteta? Because he did it at Everton last weekend. They coughed up 2 points, which, again, could have been decent in terms of the title race if they got those 2 points ahead now, and would have made Liverpool even more nervous. But it's a balancing act, right? Because there's quite a handful of key players who maybe took whacks late on and came off against Madrid, or could really do with a rest. But you still want to keep winning just to keep that positive vibe going. And then maybe if Liverpool do have an incredible collapse late in the season, you're there waiting to make the most of it. So difficult balance for Arteta, right?
Yeah, it is to keep that consistency more than anything, from game to game when you're making as many changes as I would expect him to do again, pretty similar to what he did against Everton. The Gabriel injury was obviously a bitter blow for them, and in an area where you've got two of the best center backs in the world with him and Saliba, and you take one of them out, and suddenly Kivior is back in there starting every single game, I guess, for probably the rest of the season. It's a tough situation to be in. And so I do think he has to protect as many of those key players as possible, because we've seen what happens when the injuries hit this team this season. But yeah, it's to Nick's point, for a young team to come up and have a big result, a massive result, the way that they did against Madrid, that's the kind of defining performance and moment and night that I think we've been looking for from this group, because they've not had it. We've seen the steady climb, and we can see that there's a bunch of really talented young players, but what have they done still to this point? Well, now they have gone 3-0 against Real Madrid. They've got to finish the job, obviously, in the second leg. But I do think when we talk about the mentality, the belief that will then give this group, I don't think we can underestimate that.
Yeah, and being around them a lot this season, going to a lot of Arsenal games, there is just a business-like feeling around them, and just everybody. They've been there right now. This group they are still young, but like Nick mentioned, they've had a lot of great experiences and been in these scraps for titles and been right up there in multiple competitions for many years together now. And it does feel, like you said, Andy, it's all kind of coming together at the moment in the Champions League, but maybe they can make it interesting late in the season. But I think you're in Timber, Saka, Rice, maybe even Saliba and Miles Lewis-Skelly get rested for this one. So we could see some pretty interesting lineup choices there from Arteta. But we'll talk about it later in the show this week, but Madrid being Madrid, Arsenal still will want their players, their starting lineup, fully fit and focused and fresh for that second leg, just to finish off that job, because the last thing they want is to pick up a few other big injuries this weekend. Nick, Brentford, I mean, very dangerous team. We know that with their front three, but just one win in their last 5 in the Premier League, on a really good run before that. Feels like their European push was unlikely, but they're just kind of fizzling out now. in that group of teams there for the Europa League spots. But still a great season from Thomas Frank's side.
Honestly, you think to yourself, is it the worst thing in the world if they don't hit that goal? I mean, obviously, they're going to try and win as many games as possible. But I think about the big names they've missed, some of their big buys, right, that weren't even available for most or if not all of the season. Might it just make sense? I checked. I think Ben Mee is the only big name who's going to be out of contract this year. They have a couple guys going into their last season. Johan Wies has one. But I think it wouldn't hurt them to be full strength for a year of Premier League. And then they can honestly be I don't want to say a Nottingham Forest, but they can make a run next year. So I just don't think, given the trajectory of the team, how many extra games they've had to feature in because of Thomas Frank's success, I just don't think it would be the worst thing for them to miss out on that European push anyways.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Andy, what's your score prediction for this game, mate?
I do think there'll actually be goals in it, and we would have thought that last weekend with Brentford and Chelsea, and it ended up being one of the more dire games of the season. But especially if Arsenal rotate, I think Mbeumo is going to be able to really get at them and cause some trouble cutting in there off of the right wing. And to Nick's point, he's a player that might actually, I think a lot of people are expecting to be gone in the summer, and so there's going to be kind of a regeneration of this team coming. So I'll say 3-2. I'll give it to Arsenal, but I think it's going to be a bit of a back and forth one.
Nice. I'm going to go 2-1 to Arsenal. I think, maybe Saka, etc., will come on with 30 minutes to go, close it out. I think it'll be close, and I think Brentford aren't scared of anybody, right? We've seen so many times in the past against the big boys, they just go for it, and sometimes it comes off, sometimes it doesn't, but you're always going to be in a game, and I'm just looking forward to the set-piece battles. I mean, these are the two sort of best set-piece teams, right, in the Premier League in terms of their creativity with it and just their success rate. So I'll be keeping a close eye on that at the Emirates on Saturday. Nick, what do you think, mate, score prediction-wise?
Yeah, I'm going with the same thing. I think Arsenal may not be the deepest team in the world, but there are players playing to push their faces into the window for Real Madrid and for, in theory, a deeper Champions League run.
It's true. It's very exciting times around Arsenal. Either side of this game against Brentford, obviously games against Real Madrid, and there's a lot going on for them on and off the pitch. A lot of excitement, but let's see if they can take care of business this weekend against Brentford. Head over to Pro Soccer Talk on NBCSports.com for all the latest how to watch information, team news, live analysis from the stadium. I'll be there in North London. I'm sure they will be absolutely jubilant after that midweek win against Real Madrid. Let's see if they can back it up against Brentford and stay just about in the title race.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Lowe, and as we head towards the end of an exciting Premier League season, make sure you like and subscribe on the NBC Sports YouTube channel for more content like this.